Greetings everybody, it's Emily from Of Pages and Ink, and today I will be doing my book talk on Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. Ignore the pink thing, it's just my way of marking my books so my brother knows he can read them. It's falling off. Okay, so I saw this book when I found out about this book when I watched Susan and Alex's podcast for the Past Truth book tour for their new releases of Alex's Passenger and Susan's Truthwitch. And I thought it sounded really good. It was really interesting, and the cover looked awesome. Like, this is really cool. So, what this book is about a girl named Safia von Hassel, who is a Truthwitch, which basically means that she has the ability to tell the difference between when somebody's telling the truth and when somebody's telling a lie. And she can also kind of sense their intentions in a way. Which is a very rare and apparently very valuable power, although it's honestly, in my opinion, not very much of a power. You just know when people are lying to you. Which I guess can be considered useful in a political point of view, but she's been training for years in like combat, so that helps her. Otherwise, I think she'd be kind of useless. But Safi's very fiery, and she kind of acts without thinking, and she's a very strong character. Then her best friend is Iseult, who is I want to make sure I say it right. It's like a nomasti, which is kind of, what I gathered is they were nomadic people that eventually stopped and kind of started tribes, and her kind is kind of looked down upon people. She's a thread witch, which means she can see the threads of the world, which are people's emotions and their bonds to people. She's bonded to Safi by being a thread sister. They bonded so much they became sisters in soul, and basically these two girls are just trying to live their lives day to day, so eventually they can be free. Safia can be free of her title, and Iseult can go with her, and they can kind of live their own lives without really any expectations. And there's this war kind of on the horizon after this long period of truce, and so they have to, or they're trying to fulfill their own goal while also trying to avoid getting caught up in the war, which doesn't end up happening. They get help from a prince named Merrick, who is a wind witch, and they're also on the run from a blood witch, which has the ability to control one's blood as well as to track them via their blood scent. So very cool stuff, but not what I was expecting in the book. Before I did the video, I read over the summary that's on the book because and I found out, it was to remind myself, but I found out that the summary that I read where I bought it from, or like just when I was trying to figure out what book to buy, and I saw this and I was like, ooh, let me see what this is about. It sounded more interesting. It sounded like a lot more travel, a lot more action, and a lot more ships. But it takes a long time to get to that point, and it was kind of boring for me. I was waiting for all the action to get there, and it really didn't get there until about halfway through the book. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars because it was good enough that I was able to read it, and eventually it got even better, but it didn't make it all the way to 4 stars for me. I am really excited for the next book though, because I do want to see what happens after the end of the book. I really like the characters in the story. The characters are probably the best part of the story because they are all very real, like each one of them, and they all have their flaws and they're all kind of acknowledged. Safi is, like I said, she acts without thinking, and because of that she endangers a lot of people, including her thread sister. And while sitting on this ship on the run from the kingdom that she's from, she kind of realizes, oh my god, I'm kind of selfish. I only really think about myself in situations, and sometimes Iseult, and you know, it can affect a lot of people's lives. So she kind of becomes more, I don't want to say self-aware, but she kind of starts to figure out, oh, I really need to watch what I'm doing because I can hurt a lot of people. And Isolt's is, she focuses too much on being something that she isn't. And by being something she isn't, I mean her mother in a way. Her mother taught her everything she knows about being a Truthwitch, but she can't do some of the things that Truthwitches should be able to do. She can't school her features into one of nonchalance, not really nonchalance, but one of like neutrality. She can do it in the book more often than, or not more often, but she does it quite a few times in the book, but there's a lot of times where she can't help but like crack a smile, or she can't help but show fear, which, you know, thread witches are apparently not supposed to do. They're supposed to see other people's emotions but not show their own, which is kind of silly. And although I do get the point, and I'm not saying that the flaw makes her a terrible character, I'm saying that it's a character flaw and it's addressed, and I like that in a book when characters aren't perceived as perfect. I like it when there's a little bit of a, hey, there's this problem with this character's personality, let's talk about this for a little bit. And it kind of lets you delve deeper into who the character is, and it gets you to like them better. You get to know them more. Merrick's is kind of a tunnel vision kind of thing, kind of like Safi's, only instead of thinking about one person and the impact that they can have, he thinks about a lot of other people. And it's actually really kind of biased, even though he pretends it isn't. You know, Safia von Hassel is a Domna, which is like a lady in a way. She, you know, is important in like the respect of her powers, which I'm not sure is really a very valuable power, but that's why she's running. So when it comes to her and her thread sister Isolt gets into kind of trouble, and Safia needs to help her, as well as Merrick's aunt, Evrain, and he doesn't want anything to do with it, really. I mean, he says he's going to help her out, but with all the time that they say that she has, he's like, I can't do it. It endangers too many people. And we're like, I'm sitting here like, okay, but you can do something. I mean, you're a wind witch. Have a wind witch take them to the closest island, because they can kind of like fly. But he was like, nope, you're gonna have to wait till we get to port, because there's this contract that he had signed with Safia's uncle in order to open trade for his country. So it was just kind of, it was irritating, but it's not really a bad character flaw to have. The other thing I like about this book, since I'm done talking about characters for the most part, the other thing I like about this book is the world and the variety of magic. There are so many different kinds of witches, and they all have like special marks on the back of their hands. You know, there's a truth witch, a thread witch, a wind witch, there's water witches, there's blood witches, there's void witches, and other witches, which are kind of like light and darkness in a way. You know, there's so many different kinds of magic, and I don't think I've seen so many different kinds of magic in books in a while. So I thought that was really interesting, and I really actually enjoyed to read about that. I also really enjoyed the puppeteer and the one connection that she has with one of the characters, which I'm not going to talk about too in depth because then it gets into a spoiler position. But the thing that she has with this character is actually really cool, and I really do want to learn more about it because it's interesting. It's not really something that you see all that often in YA books and high fantasy. So I'm really interested in that. And yeah, the things I didn't like about the book, I've already kind of said. It's the plot, it's very slow and takes forever to build up, and within the first half of the book, I felt like even though so much has happened, nothing really happened. If they had started from the point in the book where somebody cleaves, which is basically, from what I understand, when witches cleave, it becomes like a zombie in a way, and they're called the cleaved. And I don't quite understand what happens. It seems more of like their body is rejecting the magic, which is a little weird. but interesting. And so I'm excited to learn a little bit more about that. The water wells, I mean, I feel like there's actually a lot of things that aren't really addressed very much in the book. There is a legend about a pair of people called Kawar Arin or something like that, and they're like, they're not gods, they're not demigods, but they're like these very powerful people, and there's like a whole monastery of monks who have made a vow to protect them and help them, and it's hinted at quite a few times actually that the Kawar Arwen or whatever it is are actually some of the characters in the book, and pretty much as soon as it's addressed, it's like dismissed because it moves on to another problem, and I'm just kind of like, okay, but are we going to talk about this? Then there's also the wells that are discussed but aren't really completely, like, it's never really explained what happened to the wells. They're like the sources of powers for certain magics in a way. So I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't really touched upon. There's also a lot that's revealed about Safia's uncle, as well as the emperor, I think. Emperor? King? King. I think he's a king. Then there's Prince Leopold, who was Safia's like childhood friend, and he kind of has a questionable character that honestly makes me want to punch him in the face because he's just really irritating. In the beginning, I really liked him. I was like, oh, he's really nice, and he's a cool guy, and he's a good friend. And then like the more I read the story, I was like, oh my god, this guy is just... what is this guy? Because he goes from being this nice guy to be this kind of bratty prince to being like not really a spy, but like he's like you don't really know what side he's on, and you're just like, okay, pick a side. But yeah, so this was a longer video than I made it to be, but when I do talk about books, I do tend to rant. I'm trying to focus in on the things that I like and the things that I don't like when I do my book talks, because otherwise it does lead me into rambling, but it's more of off-topic rambling and less of like opinion. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about Truthwitch. I really hope that the next book is even better, and I kind of hope it's like a Legend situation, because when I read Legend was okay, and Prodigy was okay. When I read Champion, I was like, oh my god, this series is awesome. And like the rest of the books kind of were like the light changed for the rest of the books, and they all became like 4 or 5 stars, because I realized that, oh my god, the series is actually really good in my opinion. It might not be good in your opinion, but it was good in my opinion. So like it changed my opinion of the entire series, and that's also happened in the reverse, where I really loved the first few books in the series, and then like the next book came out and I read it and I was like, well, that just destroyed my entire thoughts of the series. So hopefully it gets better and changes my opinion. What I'm currently reading, in case you're interested, is The Forbidden Wish by Jessica Khoury. Khoury. I know how to spell it, I don't know how to say it. But it's right behind me here, right here. I have actually run out of space on my bookshelf, so in future videos you may see books just kind of facing outward, like uprooted in front of books, because I have run out of space. I need another bookshelf. But that is all I have for you guys today. I will see you guys next week, hopefully, or sooner, once I finish The Forbidden Wish, for another book talk. If not, then maybe a Top 5 Wednesday. And if not that, maybe a challenge video. I haven't done one of those in a little bit. If there is anything you want me to do, like any suggestions for videos, put them in the comments down below, and I will take a look. What are you guys currently reading? What did you think about Truthwitch if you read it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let's talk about it. So, thank you for watching. It always means so much for you guys to watch my videos. I do them for you guys as well as for myself because they are pretty fun. But I would like some feedback every once in a while. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Happy reading.